Good morning, my name is Karen Kong and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Canada, and welcome to my This or That Thursday, although this week is actually not a this or that because I didn't have two cards ready to share with you. I have one card today, and so I thought, well, rather than skip my weekly live since we didn't have one last week, I would just show you the one card that I made. It's just been crazy the last couple of weeks with dance competitions going on, and we were away for the weekend and didn't get back till very late on Sunday night, and it's just, I don't know where the week has gone. It's just been so busy. I've got, other things going on with travel plans and stuff that I had to prepare for, so for later this summer. Anyway, so I feel like I'm like running on empty, but I did still make a card. I have been designing cards. I've got a class next week, and I have all my cards ready, and I actually want to make one more. I may have to like stop myself so I can actually start cutting and prepping all the supplies and everything. So yes, I still have been creating, but just not been enough time to really like gather all my thoughts and to make two cards for my live this week. So I hope you'll forgive me. I'm just going to demonstrate the one card I made yesterday, and let me just get my computer set up so that I can see your comments while I'm crafting. Okay, so if you're joining in live, I always like it if you say hi and keep me company and chat with me, because it's way more fun that way. All right, let me just get the feed going. Almost there. All right. Okay, so I've got my computer set up. Let me switch the view to my desktop so you can see what we're making today. And close your eyes because it's going to be a little bit bumpy for a few seconds while I set it up and get the camera centered. Here we go. All right, so that's not quite centered on my desktop crafting area. Let me just move the stand down a little bit. Every time it seems like it's a surprise where which camera it's using on my phone. I don't know if it switches every time I do a live, but it feels like it is because it's never in the right spot. Okay, so I think that's a little bit better, and let me zoom in a bit. Okay, here we go. Well, I don't know what's going on. This is not even close to where I thought it would be. Okay, whatever. Okay, so this is the card that I made. I've been playing with the Seaside Bay bundle and having a lot of fun with it. And this one uses an embossing folder that actually just retired. I think it was in the clearance. I'm not sure if it's still in the clearance section anymore, but it goes well with it, really well with it. So not too hard. The only thing that I think was a little bit tricky was the crab, because I wanted to make a crab that's more like a those blue shell crabs. Like, I don't know if you've seen them, but they have blue claws and a little bit of red. Like, I think there's a little bit more red along the joints of some of the smaller legs, but it was a little bit too delicate for me to try to get the red in there. I used a Calypso Coral for that. So it's fairly simple, so I'm thinking it won't take too long to make. So let's get started. I used my Deckled Rectangles for cutting the mats on this card. I've already cut the one mat behind there, and we need to make the card base and then the top mat with the embossing. Okay, so let me just get started by moving everything out of the way first. So make some room on my desk. And I'm going to get my paper trimmer. I have half a sheet of the card base already left over, so I already have that cut, but I do need to score it so that I can fold it where right along the middle and get a nice clean fold. Okay, so this is half a sheet of a 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to score it right along the middle at 4¼ inches. Okay, so that's done. I'm just going to go ahead and fold that and burnish the fold. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut a bunch of things. I think the crab I will leave for last because I have to stamp him first, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece and then emboss it. So you want to do, if you are doing like a cutout and then embossing, that will prevent your embossing from, sorry, I can't think this morning. What I want to say is that don't emboss and then do use a die cut to cut out, because then when it runs through the machine the second time, it'll flatten all your embossing. I've done that before. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is cut. So that's the largest deckled rectangle. And we'll run that through. Okay. So there's my deckled rectangle, and I'm going to get my embossing folder and get the right plates for embossing. So if you've never used a cut and emboss machine before, all the instructions are here. It tells you which plates to use each time, so there's no need to memorize, but after a while you kind of get to know what you need. Whoops, I just need my embossing folder, and I had it a second ago and I don't know where I put it. Let me just see. Oh, it's over here. Okay, we have it. All right, so I'm going to put the paper inside. I'm just going to make sure this is the right side that I want. Okay, and I'm just going to center it up here. We'll put that through. So here we go, there's the embossed matting layer. So let's do some stamping now. We'll have to come back to the cut and emboss machine afterwards when we're done stamping. But so let me just put this away. Okay, I'm just going to get some scrap white paper, just a moment. Okay. I'm just going to trim off this piece that I already used because it was the right width. Okay, so I'm going to get my Stamparatus, which I love, and you can see I've like used this sheet of scrap paper a lot. Probably time to change it soon, but that's okay. All right, so I already have the thank you for everything stamp on here from yesterday when I was making this card. So I'm just going to place this here. Let's see if I can line this up again. Okay, so let me just double check that this is long enough for my sentiment tag, because I used this die for it, It is long enough, but I'm going to have to center the stamp in it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move it over a little bit. Let's see if that does it. That should work. Okay, so I'm just going to move this out of the way. And I'm using Night of Navy for this sentiment. And the Night of Navy is just so rich. Like, I usually don't have to stamp more than once with Night of Navy. Beautiful. I'm just finding that the last part of the word everything is not coming out as dark. Just making sure that all the ink made it off. So that little bit of text is a little lighter, so I'm just going to ink just that little bit, and hopefully that will do the trick. Okay, I'm going to leave it. I think that's fine. So let me just clean this off so I don't ink myself by accident. All right, so there's my thank you for everything. I'm going to die cut that afterwards, but let's do the crab as well. Let me get another little bit of paper. Let's see if this is big enough. Yeah, I think that's big enough. I'm just going to cut a scrap of it because I don't need the whole thing hanging off the side. Okay, I've got to line this up again. I don't know why I put it right at the edge. Let's move that. All right, so let me line this up here. And we'll move the stamp. So I'm just going to put it right here. All right. So what I did for this is that I wanted to use, if you can see, this is a Sahara Sand in the middle, and that is Tahitian Tide on the side, and Calypso Coral for the tips. Okay, so I have stamped it before where I inked the whole thing in Sahara Sand and then put the other colors on top, but it looks too muddy, a little bit too dark. So what I did to get this effect was I actually inked it up with Sahara Sand, and then I wiped off those sections that I didn't want in Sahara Sand. And then I blended it in using little sponge daubers, the 2 extra colors. So let me get those. And I'm just going to put this underneath so it's easier to keep it flat while I'm inking. Okay, so here we go. So my Sahara Sand, if you've never seen me do this before, I know it's a little bit extra juicy. So because it is extra juicy, it will cause kind of a blotting, not blotting, that's not the right word, maybe blobbing effect when I stamp with it. So what I do is I take like a straight edge, and this is just an old credit card that's expired, and you can use your bone folder or something else, but I just push the ink to one side so that all the excess ink is on the edge. I'm just wiping off my card, and then I stamp, and then I ink up with that. Okay, so I'm inking that up, and I'm going to take my little squeegee and I'm going to wipe off the areas that I don't want in Sahara Sand. Okay, so I'm just cleaning the ink off of the claws. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. Okay, so I think that's okay. I don't think I need to do that a second time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ink it up with Tahitian Tide. I'm just going to close up this ink pad. Okay, so here's Tahitian Tide, and I'm going to ink up this crab's claws. Okay, so I'm just going to add it to the claw area. And I'm going to take the Calypso Coral and do the same thing for just the tips. Trying not to get it on his face, because I've done it where I got too close to his face and I put red on his face. I don't really want it on the face. Okay, so let's see how that looks. I may have to do it a second time. Not too shabby. I think that didn't turn out too bad. It might need a little bit more closer to the claws, but you know what? I think it actually turned out okay. I think I might make the Tahitian Tide a little bit darker, just to make it stand out more. So that's the great thing about having a Stamparatus, is that I can re-stamp what I need to re-stamp and add extra emphasis in those areas. Okay. Pretty good. I'm happy with that. All right, so let's take that out. I'm going to close up my ink pads. Oh, and I better clean off that crab before I get it anywhere else. There we go. All right, so now we'll die cut those two things. Let's move the ink pads out of the way. I've got, bring back my cut and emboss machine. All right, here we go. There's my crab and the thank you sentiment. That looks good. And I gotta get the crab die out. There we go. And let's run that through. There's our little crab. Here's my sentiment. Okay, let me just move this out of the way. So when I was assembling my card, I realized that I felt like the little tag there was too stark white. So what I did is I just add a little bit of blue along the edge, and you do that by using the sponge dauber again. So I got my Tahitian Tide out. And to get my little sponge dauber, and I just brush it along the edge just to give it a little bit of color. There we go. Okay, so I think we're ready for assembly now. Okay, so here's my card base. I am going to angle my mat. It's on a diagonal, just so it peeks out from behind and gives some weight to the card. I like it when the card feels substantial. So let me get my glue. See, this is the back. Yeah. Okay. So that's just positioned and it's on an angle. There's not a lot of play in how far you can angle this, so I don't feel like I need to line it up with my top mat, because it will be fine. That's pretty good. All right, and here's the top mat that will go on top. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I add a little bit of twine behind here. This is baker's twine in the Tahitian Tide as well. So what I'm going to do is just flip it over, put a little bit of Stampin' Seal on the sides so that it will hold down the twine. Whoops, a bit more. Okay. All right, so I have two rows, is that the right word? No. Can't think this morning. Clearly I need more coffee. Two strings, no, that's not what I want to say. Two lengths. I can't think this morning. What's the word? A double strand. Maybe that's better way of phrasing. I have a double strand here of the twine. So I'm just going to turn it around. I didn't pre-measure. I'm just kind of doing it right from the skein, and so I don't have to measure. Okay, so there. Now I've got two of them. There we go. Okay, so it's about middle, and I'm going to glue that down on top before I continue assembling. So long weekend coming up here in Ottawa, and what are you guys doing? Because I know that long weekend for us is usually planting time for us. We plant our annuals and stuff and get those into the ground. I am not good at keeping flowers alive, but we still do it every year. My job is to water the plants. My husband plants them, I'm supposed to water them, and depending on how busy things are, that may or may not happen. But I do try my best. I think I'm going to try and assign that job to my daughter this year. And maybe she can do a better job than me. She has tomato plants that she wants to grow, so she will have a vested interest in watering plants this year. Okay, so behind the crab, I just put a simple bow. So I'm just going to tie it right here on the roll. That's how I just do it, so that then if I make a mistake in the length, I don't have to recut. I can just redo the bow, and then when I'm done doing the bow, tying it to the length that I want, then I just snip off the end, and that way I don't get any waste. So here we go. Okay, so it's pretty long loops, and I think that works out fine. I was thinking I wanted this end to be a little bit longer, but I think it's okay. So just pull it through a little bit. Okay. So let's cut that. And I'm going to use a half a glue dot. Just trying to find my glue dots. Because I find a whole glue dot, it shows through behind such a tiny knot. So I cut half a glue dot, and that's all I use. Even the half a glue dot is more than enough. And it's going to be hidden anyway, so it's not really a big deal. Actually, before I put the bow down, I should really put the thank you first. So I use dimensionals on that, so it's just going to put it right there. So I'm going to put dimensionals around that. I'm going to use the minis. so that I leave space for the twine in between the dimensionals. Let's take the backings off. Okay, so let's see, I have room for my twine now, so I'm just going to stick it right there. And now that I know where my sentiment is, I can put my bow down. Okay. Whoops. So around here, I'm gonna have the crab covering it, so. Okay, so now my crab, I know it's gonna go around here. So I'm gonna actually put the dimensionals right on the paper because I want it to be right there. I don't want it to accidentally sit on top of one of the strings, the twine, and then it would be kind of bumpy and not lie flat. And I know the crab will cover this. Like that. And to finish it off, I used polished dots, which is a retired embellishment from, I think it was the Crane of Fortune. Oh, hi Tara. Thanks for joining me. I'm nearly done actually. I'm really fast today. This was an easier card than I thought it would be. I thought it might take me a little while to do the crab, but it didn't take as long as I thought because I spent more time trying to figure out how I wanted to do it before this live. And so once I had figured out, I guess it just didn't take as long. Anyway, so instead of using the polished dots, I think this time I'm going to use basic pearls. Also retired, but they have iridescent pearls now, which are just as good. And where did I put them? Let's see. Just looking for my basic pearls, which I thought I had out. Oh, I do have it out. Okay, they're over here. All right. So here we go. So let's use the pearls instead. And I'll put it in the same spots. I like the tiny pearls and the tiny embellishments because I find that they're easier to, I don't know, they don't look unbalanced as much when I, unbalanced meaning like it's just too big for the actual layout. So these ones I think just add a little bit of bling without like calling too much attention to themselves. Yes, I can color these with blends, actually, I could, and but I think I like it because they're supposed to be kind of like pearls for, you know, the sea. I'm good with them being white, but yes, you can definitely color these with the blends marker to make it match whatever color is in your layout, and make it coordinate. So that's the great thing about these. So yes, you can color those. And the same thing with the iridescent pearls, which is the current product. So that is the card. I think I'm going to take another white piece and stick it inside after I stamp it a little bit. Let's see. I think we have time to do that now. Because goodness knows if I set it aside, I may not come back to it for a while. Okay. Just trying to find an empty block. And I'm just going to stamp some sand on the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to brush the ink aside again because I don't like it when it gets blobby. Okay. So let's see, which way did I do it? I think I curved it up here. good. And then I added some this way. And then a little bit more just on the side here. So I love that sand. It looks so cool. Oh, Tara, I already used my Stamparatus. I am using a block right now, but I did use the Stamparatus to do the crab. It was easier to do it that way because I needed to stamp several times in the same spot. But I am still using my Stamparatus. I can't give it up. Okay, so I just added one more shell, and I used the Calypso Coral just for a splash of color. And I think this time, let's see. Should I use this one? Yeah, I think I'll use this one. I'm going to stamp it off because I have a feeling it's going to be pretty dark. Let me get a scrap piece of paper. So stamp off once and then add it to the card here. There we go. That's better. Yeah, I didn't want it so dark, so that worked out well. And let's glue that in on the inside, and we'll leave the inside blank. I like leaving the inside blank if it's a thank you card for writing whatever note you want to say thank you for. Oops, I need to push that over just a little bit, which is why I use glue a lot now. There's room for movement after you put it down. Perfect. So that is the card today. It's not too hard, pretty simple. The only fancy thing I think really is the my blue shell crab, and I'm happy with how he turned out. So there you go. Thanks for joining me today, and if you were watching the replay, please say hi, tell me where you're watching from, and let me know if you enjoyed it. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.